Hey everybody, Brooke here. So I was just asked by several people in the last few days, few weeks about my kids' journey with gut health and the alternative, measures that we have taken with our kids and kind of what their journey entailed and how it all works. So I figured if a few people are asking from different areas, some of them not even within this state, that probably there's others out there that are wondering. So I just want to share a little bit about my kids tonight and the journey that we have been on for almost 4 years. So I have 4 kids. For those of you who don't know me that well, I am married to my high school sweetheart, Dustin, and we have 4 amazing, crazy boys. We love them dearly. They are 4, 6, 11, and 13. And when we started this journey of gut health and kind of alternative methods and looking beyond prescriptions and looking beyond Western medicine, my kids were, the oldest were 7 and 9. We call them the varsity squad if you ever hear me talking on social media. And my youngest was, he was 11 months when, about 11 months. They were 11 months and just about 3. So they were little. And so, those kids were just being kids at that time, and we didn't really know that they all had stuff. We didn't know they had stuff that needed to be dealt with. We did, however, know that my second kiddo, the third and oldest in the chain of command here, my second kiddo, Kaiser, was 7 at the time, and we did know that he had some anxiety. But we didn't really even know it was anxiety at the time, guys, because what we understood with Kai was just that he was a nervous kid, that Kai asked more questions than the average bear, that Kai didn't like to go to sleepovers. And when it's your kid, even though I'm a family nurse practitioner and Dustin's a teacher, and we didn't see this stuff in other kids, it's easy to overlook it when it's your own, right? And that's why I can tell you right now, as a healthcare provider, always seek outside opinions from other people, because we are clouded by our own, we just can't see the picture clearly, okay? When it's your own people, when it's people close to you, we just can't do it. So we know a lot and we do well and we mean well, but you should always, always, always seek help from outside, seek outside opinions just to, maybe they'll agree with you, maybe they won't. It's okay. You can always ask for help. So with Kai, again, we knew that he was nervous. We knew that he didn't do sleepovers. We knew he had a stomach ache. And it was when the school got our attention and the school was saying, your child needs help. Your child needs professional help. And quite honestly, it made me mad. It really made me mad, because here I was, a professional. I'm a family nurse practitioner. I'm working in the ER, and I couldn't help my kid. There was nothing I could do to offer my kid outside of counseling and therapy, which I'm not against, and prescription medications, which I didn't want to go there. I did not want to go down that route because I didn't want my kid to be medicated. And I remember thinking, he's just like me. He'll be fine. I got over it, and I didn't think that I had anxiety, okay? So that's part of it, is number 1, just trying to open your mind up to what maybe you do have. And my kid was just like me. And when all the therapists and all the specialists and the principal and the counselor and the behavior therapist and the school psychologist and everybody in these meetings is saying, your child has anxiety and your child needs professional help, we had to look at our kid and say, okay, maybe he does have anxiety. Maybe he does have issues. So let me tell you a little bit about Kai's story. So Kai would never use a public restroom stall alone. I know that sounds extreme, but it's true. He would not, in a public restroom stall, in the women's, because Dustin's coaching all winter, right? And I want to tip my hat right now. Literally, I have one on to Terry Sterniker, who's on this call, because she is the reason I even ever gave my son any gut health products. Because she looked at me one day and said, Brooke, if this is helping you so much, why have you not started it with Kaiser? And I'll get back to that part of the story later, but that makes me almost cry a little bit. And that's because I couldn't see it, because I was in it too deep. I couldn't see it, okay? But someone outside of me could see that. You can look at it objectively when you're not in the mix. So back to Kai. Kai wouldn't pee in a public restroom stall alone. Kai would not go to sleepovers. Kai is a little sports freak. He loves everything. He wouldn't go to a practice if we were not standing. We had to be at the practice, but standing next to the field, okay? Not just parked in the car or be on the premises. No, next to the field, or maybe on the field sometimes. So Kai wouldn't participate in anything. Kai would get dropped off at the curb and usually had a 2-person escort. 2 workers from the school would walk him up to the school and get him to his class. And I just prayed that we would make it halfway through the school day without a phone call. Usually it was 8:07, 8:15. Mind you, he got dropped off at 5 till 8, 10 till 8, and it was full on tears, stomach ache. Mom, will you come get me? Mom, I think I'm going to get sick. Every single day. So he didn't understand that his stomach ache was really anxiety. His anxiety manifested in a stomach ache, worry, 1,000 questions before school, 1,000 questions the night before school. Was there going to be a sub? Oh my gosh, who's going to pick me up? Guys, the plan was the same virtually every single day. It doesn't matter. When you have anxiety, it's like everything is blown out of proportion. It was fear, it was worry, it was doubt, and he always thought he was going to be sick. That kid wasn't sick. He was never sick, but that's where his anxiety went. Okay. So anxiety is different in everybody. And I am a firm believer that a lot of us miss that. Here I was, a provider, and I missed it in my own child. 4 years. When I look back, his first issues with anxiety that we could really pinpoint when he was doing things that his peers weren't doing was clear back when he was 3 years old. And we just thought it was separation anxiety. But yet the grudges he held were longer. The fits he threw were bigger. The fears he had were bigger. The questions were more. And I look back and he was different then. So if you know someone who's doing something different than their peers, I'm not saying that your kid has anxiety, but I'm saying it's worth looking into because we didn't know. And I didn't know until my anxiety got better and I watched it go away that it would ever even, that there was a hope that Kai's would go away. So Kaiser started on gut health products in July of 2015, and quite simply because we had started a journey and we just wanted our kids to be healthier. And we hoped, like, fingers crossed, maybe kind of hoped that this would change our kids' world. We didn't know. And what I can tell you is he went back to school that year and was a different kid. He was a totally different kid. He was getting out of the car unassisted, walking up to the school. Victory number 1. He was making it through the school day without going to the office, without tears and phone calls. Victory number 2. He was making it without coming and calling me and saying, hey, Mom, would you stop by at lunch? Hey, Mom, would you come eat lunch with me? I mean, literally, guys, I went to kindergarten with him. I felt like Buddy the Elf in Elf the movie, where I was the big kid in kindergarten because I had to go a full day, and then 3/4 of a day, and then half a day, and then 1/4 of a day, and then every day at lunch to get this kid to go back to school, literally, in kindergarten. So we had seen these major debilitating anxiety that shut him down from being a normal kid and participating in normal activities from the time he was in kindergarten. And this is a bright student. Hey lady, thanks for tuning in. This is a bright student with lots of friends who socialized well, who excelled at school. So he never fit the mold. And the school would, they didn't know. They didn't understand why he wasn't falling behind, why he had friends, why he could do all the things that other kids couldn't do. Yet there was something different. There was something that clearly he was the one in tears. He was the one that came home with these red-rimmed eyes. He was the one who called his mom every day from the office. And believe me, I had red-rimmed eyes too. I was crying at my office. Guys, I took a job at a job I didn't love. I left my dream job in the ER for another job because that meant I could answer the phone when Kaiser called me. I could answer the phone when he called me, and then I could go get him and he could sleep on the floor of my office as I continued to see patients. All the while, I didn't know it was freaking anxiety, okay? I'm here to admit that. That is hard. That is hard to admit that you're seeing patients and administering care, and you are so blind to what is right in front of your face. So my kiddo did have anxiety. We started treating that with amazing probiotics. And let me tell you why that works, because the microbiome is this microscopic army in your gut. Generally speaking, the good guys are not winning. The bad guys are winning. And that's because the bad guys feed on the good stuff like sugar, carbs, anything that is sold in a box at the store, stress, the ring pop he gets every night at every basketball game that I don't buy, but somebody hands to him. Any of those things, artificial colors, artificial sweeteners, artificial flavors, those things, anything that, we have always, like those sinful foods that we all want to eat and drink, that is what feeds the bad guys. Prescription medications. But on top of that, it's stress, lack of sleep, like pollutants. There are things that we can't avoid. So there's a lot of stuff that creates this out of balance, this out of whack with our microbiome. And so when the bad guys are winning, then we have this, it's kind of just this discontent, and that can present as depression, anxiety, focus issues. It can be fatigue, it can be skin issues, it can be allergies, eczema, you name it. There are so many things that having an out of balance microbiome, which again is that microscopic army of bacteria in your gut, that can happen. And so for Kai, and I know because it was me too, I was a sugar eater, a carb eater, never met one I didn't like. I love Diet Coke, yet I was dragging all the time, and I was so anxious and so exhausted. So I knew, because he was a sugar guy, much like myself, it was him and I who had to stay away from, the row of Oreos that we can consume in 3 seconds flat, that I knew that he was a lot like me. But it wasn't until I saw mine go away that I had hopes that his could go away. So we started again with these probiotics that really made a difference with him. I started noticing that when he had ice cream, he didn't want to finish all of it. And he started asking less questions, and he might go across the street to the neighbors to play. Guys, he wouldn't even do that. He wouldn't go across the street to the neighbors to play. He wouldn't go across the street to the neighbors to spend the night, even though we were right across the street. He would do none of those things. He wouldn't go in the locker room with his dad before a game for a pregame speech because it was too far away from me. And he loves the Bullpups and he loves basketball. He wouldn't go in there. That's like his second family. But if it was too far away from me, he wouldn't do it. It was just so sad to watch him not be able to be a kid. So when he went back to school that year, the school, I wasn't friends with a lot of those workers on Facebook because quite honestly, I was angry with them. And why? I'll admit, I was a mama bear. Like, they were telling me things about my kids I didn't want to hear. They were saying, your kid needs professional help. We can't do anything further for your kid. We're doing everything that we can and we don't know what to do for him. My mama heart broke. It broke, and we were praying for answers and nothing ever came. And that was before our gut health journey. And so when we sent him back to school that year, I got messages from people saying, what have you done with Kai? Why are we seeing a different kid? What have you, what are you doing differently? Because we're seeing something different. These people had not seen my stories on social media. These people had not heard the posts that I had shared because, again, I wasn't friends with them, but they were seeing a different kid. My child was a walking billboard of what you could accomplish if you clean up your microbiome. And this was the tip of the iceberg because this was 3.5 years ago, and he was not near in the shape he was now. So that's just one kid. I want to talk a little bit about my other kids, but that's the kid who someone asked me particularly about this week. I've had 2 or 3 questions about him and his regimen and what we've done for him and his anxiety. So that kiddo now, just the other day, I almost posted it on Facebook and I didn't. My husband's a teacher, so here's why. He goes, we have a sub tomorrow, and subs are the most fun because the subs don't know all the rules. Like, meaning he could break some of the rules, or like they might get away with something. Kai's a complete rule follower, so I feel comfortable saying that on here. But this kid would cry and bawl and break down and stay home sick most of the time when there used to be a sub. Any change in his plan or schedule, he broke down. So the fact that he was excited about there being a sub and that maybe they could get away with something, 5th grade, made his dad and I jump for joy because that is not who he is. He goes to sleepovers, he goes to birthday parties. I go to a basketball game and I don't know where he is the entire time until it's over. He doesn't need to be glued to my hip. It is amazing what gut health has done for this kiddo. And so my other kiddos, we only saw, again, you're blinded when they're right in front of your face. I promise you are, because I was. I only saw the differences in Kai because I had them and I related to those. I didn't see the differences in Cray, and we just started all of our kids on a gut health regimen because it made sense. I love them all equally. And so Cray's issues we didn't see again until they were gone. Well, Creighton would chew his fingernails off till they were nothing. Like, he would bite them down to where they bled all the time, even during a basketball game. And during the game, he would gnaw on them. And it was like the more nervous he got, the more he chewed. So that was part of his issue, which I didn't know was anxiety until I stopped chewing mine and Cray stopped chewing his. And I'm like, okay, that was related to that. Lifelong issue gone at the age of 35. And on top of that, Cray had focus issues. Like, I remember his very first parent-teacher conference in kindergarten. His sweet kindergarten teacher said, well, Cray does really good with a 1-part command, but 2 or 3, part commands, and like Cray's off in la la land. Like, he just gets confused between part A and part C. Like, we lost him. And we would always be like, yeah, that's Cray. He's just kind of flighty. That's who he is. And at the time, he was 9. Looking back, he had focus issues, guys. Like, again, I'm a nurse practitioner. I didn't see it. I couldn't see it. We are blinded when it's in front of our face, and we are biased when it comes to our family and their, personality traits, and we blow it off as a personality trait. Being not unable to focus isn't a personality trait, you guys. It never has been, and it never will be. You can be a little bit flighty, but not being able to follow instructions is not normal when the rest of the class can do it. So guess what happened? I still remember the year before, Creighton ended up being the quarterback for his team. And I remember when Dustin came home saying he was the quarterback, I was like, are you sure that's the right choice? Because I knew Creighton, and I knew that he was just kind of flighty sometimes, and his focus wasn't there. So I remember the next year we started products in July that summer with our boys. That year, he came home, and I remember Dustin, the coach, telling Dustin, I think Cray's my man, but he's going to have to focus. And I thought, oh boy, here we go again. Like, I remember praying the last year, can he focus? Can he stay dialed in? He did so well that year that they started calling plays from the sideline, and he had all those plays memorized, like 30 some plays that he had to have memorized to call them from the huddle. And I remember telling Dustin, that's not the maturity in 1 year. That is gut health, and that is focus. That same kid began to like to read. He could focus, and his attention span for reading grew exponentially. He could stay dialed in and just do things in school that he couldn't do before. We didn't know he had focus issues, you guys, until they were gone. It was amazing. So that's a little bit about his story. He definitely had some anxiety, not to the extent of Kai's, but he had some. And when that went away, he was a calmer kid. He didn't worry about things. He stopped, like I said, gnawing his fingernails off, and he could tune in and just focus on things. So that's kind of Creighton's story. And he was, like I said, 9 at the time. Now he's 13. And he is cool as a cucumber. Like, sometimes it bothers me how laid back he is. I'm like, for crying out loud, get fired up about something. He is just that way, which is amazing. He's so much like his dad in that respect. Kid number 3 is our one of our most famous kids on social media, Cash, because he's a complete clown. Everybody loves Cash. Literally, I think he has more friends than I do. Like, he is just legit social butterfly, and everybody knows him, and he is ornery as all get out. But we didn't used to like Cash. Like, we loved Cash, but we didn't like him an awful lot. And don't shoot me right now. Just listen to what I have to say. So, he was the sweetest kid. He would go from like euphoric and cuddly and wonderful to absolutely Hulk and throw something or hurt his little brother or hurt another kid. He just had this anger and rage that was out of control. And so, he'd be at a basketball game and everybody would love him, and he would go sit with them and they'd snuggle and they'd hang on to each other, and it was wonderful. And then he would come home with us and we're like, yeah, he's not that kid at home. Like, that's not what we see. And so we loved him. He always has had the funniest personality. He's always been, like I said, a clown. And he can be so sweet, but he could also be he broke furniture. He broke an appliance. He broke our front glass door because he threw something at it because he was angry. That was a normal thing, and we didn't understand. Like, there were times I thought, I don't know what to do with him. Like, he's going to physically hurt his sibling. I don't know what to do. And it was one extreme or the next. He never cried. He hardly showed remorse, to the point, like, as a mom, you're thinking, well, we did okay with the first 2. Like, what are we going to do with this one? Like, we didn't know, was it our parenting? What was different about this kid? Introduced probiotics and gut health for this kiddo. I remember the day he was across the street playing with the neighbors, and he came home and he had his head in his hands and he was crying. And I remember telling Dustin, oh my gosh, that's so cute. He's crying into his own hands. And then it dawned on me. That was the first time he had ever come home crying without breaking something, picking up the bat and throwing it at somebody, throwing the ball across the street, picking up a rock and chucking it, punching the neighbor kid. He literally just came home and told and said, that hurt my feelings, without acting out in a fit of anger or rage. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable that all of a sudden our child had a spectrum of emotions, not just euphoric and pissed off. He had something in between there. And that's normal. It's normal to feel all those emotions. It's normal to feel sad and cry. It's normal to have your feelings hurt and talk to somebody and not punch a wall. It's not normal to be the Incredible Hulk and go into a raging fit. That's not normal. But that was all we had known since he could walk or talk, was sweet, giggly, adorable, smiling, grinning, or angry, mean, little person we're almost scared of. That is not the way he is now. Is he still a clown? Yeah. Is he still funny? Heck yeah. Is he still the biggest squirrel we've got? Yeah, but Cager's really giving him a run for his money. But he has a vast array of emotions, which is super normal. He didn't have that until we started working on his microbiome, until we really started working on his gut health. So again, somebody asked me this week, more than a few somebodies, and said, what have you done with your kids? Like, what are their regimen? What have they been up to? Like, how did you help them with their anxiety and their issues? And so I felt like if somebody's asking me, I guarantee someone else out there is curious about the same thing. So if any of these sound like your kid, or you know a kid that it sounds like, they need to work on their microbiome. It didn't have to be through me, but I can give you pointers and tips and tricks on how to do that, because I can tell you as a mama who's dealt with all these issues, it's hard. Parenting's hard anyway, guys, right? Am I right? Like, am I right? Being a mom is hard. Being a parent is hard. And when you're parenting with these issues and you're helpless and you go, I don't know what to do. Like, I've done everything I know how to do, and you're at your wit's end and you're hopeless. It is hard. I've been there. I promise you, I've been there. I've walked that walk. We've been on a long journey since. It was not an overnight issue that got fixed. It was not an overnight cure. It never is. We are always a work in progress. Again, I'm telling you, somebody hands my kid a ring pop or somebody else does something else, and I'm like, okay, well, we're going to need more probiotics to counterbalance that. But we live life and we do our best, and we're better than we used to be, and we are working on our microbiome every single day. So anxiety is not normal. Excessive fear is not normal. Gnawing off your fingers, chewing on your fingernails all day long is not normal. Being angry at the drop of a hat and not having other emotions between happy and pissed is not normal. So if that is something that sounds like your kid, maybe it sounds like you. Maybe it sounded like me an awful lot. There's help, I promise you. So anyway, again, I know somebody out there needs to hear this. That's why I'm sharing. I know a few somebodies who wanted to hear it in particular, and so I didn't want to rob everybody else of hearing it in case you have somebody out there that needs help, because I would love to help with that. I'm literally just a mom who happens to be a nurse practitioner excuse me, who happens to be a gut health advocate. And I just happen to want to help everybody that I can feel their best. And I really feel like that's my passion and my mission. And if I can help you, let me know. If I can help somebody who's your friend, let me know. I can point them in the right direction, even if it's not me. So thanks for listening. I know I've talked way longer than I planned to. And yeah, I'm here. I'm always open ears. And yeah, we've been there. We've been there, done that, and there is a better way. I can promise y'all. Love ya.